guys, welcome to Darren's Maths Corner, and today we are going to be talking about standard forms in numbers. So with that, we use standard forms when we're dealing with very large or very small numbers that are too big or too small to fit on a full calculator. In standard form, the number is always written between 1 and 10 and then multiplied by the power of that, or divided if you're going to the left, if the number goes to the left, if you're multiplying, yeah, you get the gist. So what we've got there is A is the number between 1 and 10. And the n itself is an integer, and that's when we're talking about this sum here. But it's always, say, multiplied by a power of 10. And there's an example. That's also known as a science notation. Now, I play a game called Castle Clicker, and that has two ways of showing standard form. In the old-fashioned way, where it shows up to 9 digits, and then it shows you a series of letters as it gets longer as you progress through the game, between 1,000 and 1 less than a million. And then you've got the notes of what each one, if they're the same letter, indicates. So lowercase q would be quadrillion, capital Q, quintillion, lowercase s is sextillion, uppercase S being septillion. And then you've got the normal standard form where it shows 11 digits up to, and then shows 4 digits followed by an E, which is something I would typically go for, particularly in this, as it says we have to do superscripts on the number that follows it, but E in that case would equal 10. So a trillion would show E9, whereas 100 billion would be E8. Here are a couple of examples, a couple of parts that makes up these examples. Which you could feel free to take a look at. Give you a few moments to have a look at that to see what happens. Got a couple where you write the numbers in standard form, and then you've got another one where you convert it to a normal number. And there's a couple more where you multiply by them and then convert to standard form. So let's do the exercises. Just remember, and I'm going to put this down here as well. The E indicates the 10, and the number next to it is the power we're converting from. So let's have a look at 790,000. With that being said, we have 4 zeros. So let's have a look at a number. So write down the number between 1 and 10. Which in this case would be these two, so it's 7.9. and then follow that up with a times. It's a good way to go about it. And then E with the number of zeros you see after that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And that should hopefully be your answer following that. So there's 4 zeros there. And that's your answer. And 0.46. 0.0046. So again, we write the number between 1 and 10, so it's 4.6. And then we multiply it by the number of zeros we see, which is then 1, 2, 3. But because they're to your left, because they're to the left of the number and not to the right, that then becomes a -3. 31,300. Let's do this one. Let's write the number down. Between 1 and 10, just 3.13. And then we do the times. Followed by the number of zeros. So in this case, there's 2 of them. And yeah, we know the drill on that one. So again, right number between 1 and 10. And then we've got the E number there. And count the number of zeros there. So then count the number of zeros in the number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And because they're to the left of that number and not to the right, again it's -5. 100,000. Now write the number between 1 and 0, but that's 1. I'll put that there as well. And then count the number of zeros in that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then with that, you have, let me just double check that. He says getting out his calculator. Yeah. Just remembering E equals, that the E in this part indicates 10. Now we've got this number, so we write the number followed by the number of zeros to the left of it. So we've got then 1, 2, 3, there's 4 there, and because they're again to the left of the number and not to the right of, then becomes a -4. 15.7 times 1,000. Do 15.7. Do that. and times that by 1,000. So you then got 1, 2, 3. I think so. That, yeah, 15.7 times it by the 1,000 first. So that's 10, 100, 1,000. Write the number between 1 and 10. And then you would go with the E number as well. And then we've got 4,700 times 10,000. So let's write it down as normal. 4,700. And then we times it by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. That's 4,700 normal. Times by 10, that's 100. That's 1,000, that's 10,000. Write the number between 1 and 10. And then do your power of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you've got this number divided by 1,000. So then we put the zeros to the left of the number. So then you've got, that's normal. That's divided by 10. That's divided by 100. And that's by 1,000. And then we put the number between 1 to 10. And then we do the E number on that, which again is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But because it was because the zeros are to the left of the number and not to the right, that happens. 5,000 divided by 10,000. Let's put that in. So that's divided by 10, by 100, by 1,000, by 10,000. So it then becomes E minus 1. And that's the answers to your question of that. I might have to double check those. I may have to double check those, but I'm pretty sure I've got them right. Next. Now we write these in normal form. So in this case, we start with 7.53 times 10 to the power of 3. So that's 100. That's times 10. That's times 100. And then we've got 2.4 times 10 to the power of 2. 3 is 1,000. I definitely need to double check that. Let me just double check that just to make sure. Yeah. Good job I checked that then. Just going to go back over my other ones. Right, add 1 to each one of those. And let me just double check that one. That one's right. And good job I checked this. Yeah. Good job I'm double checking these. And try that again. And better do this one as well. And I think this one's going to be 7. It is. Yeah, that one's fine. And that one's fine as well. Good job I checked those when I did. Right. Everyone's prone to making mistakes. Right, let's get back to this. 1.9 E3 minus 3. We have the following. It's to the left. 3 zeros to the left. And E1, it's 1 0 to the left of that number. And then you've got 4.51, 1, 2, 1, 2, E4. You watch, I'm going to get this one wrong as well. That's 10, 100. I think that might be, let me just double check that. That is right. Just like a double check. And we want then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, let me double check that. Good job, I double checked that. Yeah. Right, so we got, right, that's 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's more like it. E4 minus E minus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, let me double check that. Yeah. And 6.8 times e to the power of minus 6. So that's 10. So we want then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let me again double check that. Yeah. So that's what your answers are. And they're all correct because I've double checked them all. And they're now correct after I've double checked them as well. After having double checked those. Because it's how many times the numbers have, how many times the decimal point has been moved. Just why I was out by a few. I was out on a few of them. This one's going to be an interesting one. So we want then 3 times 2. So you do 3 times 2. You do 3 times 2, which is 6. Follow the example of what I've got there. because you've done the e's first, which is e4, e2, 2 plus 2 should be e4. Ten to the power of 4. And that should then be, converting it to normal form, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me double check that. That's correct. So you see, that's the answer I've written down, and that's the answer that I've got there. Now we want, at this point, so 8 times 2 is 16. And then you've got, this time E3 minus 2, because we're dividing, as per the example there, plus divided by a minus is a minus. So then it becomes E1. And then that becomes E2, because then you've got to add that on. And then essentially that would be, hopefully, that. So hopefully it'd be that. It's either going to be that, it's either going to be 160 or 1,600, but let me double check. Just so I don't accidentally lead you down the wrong path, as I have done already. Which I have done. Because 8 divided by 2, because you have to divide them, not multiply them like I did there. Of course. Because that's essentially 800 divided by 20. Right, let me try the other way, because that's clearly not working. So we want 3.6 times E4, so that would be then 1, 2, 3, 4. Divided by 9, and that is followed by 5, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, just before I do anything else, what am I doing? Yeah. I knew there was another one there. Which then would mean at that point yeah. Okay, so we've got the answer there of 0.04. Yeah, 36 divided by 9 is 4, of course. To which then you've got, I know where I'm going, famous last words. Going to put that there as well. And now we want 4.5. Let me just try this one. 4.5. So that is minus 3, 1, whoops, 1, 2, 3. Times 1, 2, 3. And that equals the 45 times the 5 is 225. Question now is how many zeros were there? And which way does it go? I'm going to take a guess. And say it's, I think it's good. Minus times a minus is a plus. So minus times a minus is a plus. Usually it is. But yeah, I'm going to need this as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, so it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which then should be that, because then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But we're writing it in normal form, so we didn't even need that to begin with. And again, we were supposed to be writing that in normal form, so there we go. We'll do the bonus question quickly. It just shows that even the best of us can make mistakes. So go back to what we had. So we wanted 150 mm. Now remembering that m in this case would be E6 and mm is E30. So mm would be E36. So then we've got that. We'll write the number between 1 and 10. And then add the other 4 there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. We'll have a look at that. No. Yes. My thoughts exactly. Well, as I say, it just comes to show how even the best of us can go wrong sometimes. And we just, we're only human, so we're bound to make a mistake. Bound to make mistakes throughout this journey. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.